Oh, you're concerned about natural gas stoves and sending me information. Ladies and gentlemen, I got a note here from a listener. Elias, natural gas stoves can release carbon monoxide, formaldehyde, other harmful pollutants in the air, could be toxic to people and pets. Make sure to keep the fan on all the time when you're using it. That's from Peter. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been doing just that. The fan is always on pre and post using the natural gas stove. And then somebody, oh my goodness, let me tell you, somebody sends me the WebMD link to gas stove safety. And you know, it's the usual suspects, everything that Peter mentioned to me, and the fans and this thing that goes in the air. And then listen to this. Is switching to an electric stove better for my health? Okay. And here's the section on WebMD. I'm reading it. Not necessarily. Just switching to electric stove doesn't mean it's without potential risk. Any type of cooking causes the release of the volatile organic compounds, the VOCs, and ultrafine particles. And then this is where I start to feel really good about natural gas. From WebMD, not me. Don't shoot the messenger. WebMD says this. Electric stoves have potential hazards too. Houses with them were 2.6 times more likely to have fires than those with gas stoves. WebMD, not me, the death rate for electric stove households, 3.4 times higher compared to those with gas appliances. Fire injury rates 5 times higher in homes that had electric ranges over gas ones. Now everyone's freaking out. They're worried about the air with that and the fire with that. Sorry to freak you all out. It's your fault. You sent me the text messages. Let's move things along here and talk about next week and the big old strikes that are happening. This is going to penalize thousands of students across the province as they won't have classes to go to as the walkout's happening next week, 21st to the 23rd of November. And let's go now to Christina Chough, who's a Spanish teacher and chair of the Modern Languages Department at Dawson College, because Dawson is part of this strike. Along with the support staff there, they're all affiliated with the Common Front, the Front Commun. Christina, welcome back to the show.
Hi, good morning, Elias. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Tell me what to expect next week. Why next week is so important in the fight.
Well, you know, it's not just Dawson. It's all of the Common Front that's going to be going on strike. So we represent education workers and healthcare workers. So collectively, we're trying to negotiate with the government, who really is not moving forward on any sort of negotiations. They've put down one offer, they've modified it once, and other than that, they just want to push a new contract down our throats without actually considering the work that we do and considering what kind of effect it's going to have on Quebec society. Everybody has an investment in healthcare. We have a vested interest. And we have a vested interest in education because those are our future workers. The
Common Front. Just how far will the Common Front go to get what they feel, what they feel, and all people that are going on strike feel they deserve from the government?
Well, you know, I find it really ironic, Elias, that during the height of the pandemic in 2020 and 2021 especially, nurses and teachers were touted as the heroes of society. And now we're not even being offered a fair wage. We're not being offered fair working conditions. And somehow we're being demonized in all of this, which really doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it's a question of how far we're willing to go to get what we want, but rather how far we're willing to go to ensure good services for the public.
Tell me about how you feel that you're being demonized by the government. Get into that, because this is really important. I think a lot of this will play out as a public relations game. So what do you mean?
I fully agree with you on that one. The government is trying to say that we're taking students hostage by going on strike. They're trying to say that the healthcare sector is taking patients hostage, and that's not at all the case. The government controls the purse strings. And so whatever they're willing to give is a reflection of how they value healthcare and how they value education. Right now, we're not being offered even the rate of inflation. And when you consider that the MNAs gave themselves a 30% raise in June, on top of always having their salaries indexed to the cost of living, we see that they value themselves much more than they value healthcare workers and education workers. Our salaries are not indexed to the cost of living, which means that whatever inflation is, we're not being compensated for that. And we are not getting anything near 30% increase. I was just looking back at our previous collective agreements, the ones that have dated since 2010, so the past 13 years, and we haven't even gotten a 20% increase over those 15 years. Mm-hmm. So for the government to give itself cost of living the MNAs to give themselves cost of living as well as a 30% increase reflects their disdain for what we represent and who we're trying to protect.
Well, and I've said it on the show. It's unbelievable that they would give themselves at a time when so many people are struggling that 30% bump. And I said, they could have easily gotten away 10%, 15%. People say, yeah, that's what we all deserve. The 30% was so egregious. So how do you get everyone on your side? I saw an ad from a Quebec union while I was watching TV, streaming TV. That was one of the ads that was served up for me. How do you get everyone on your side? How do you make the case in the public relations campaign to be on team teacher and team all public service employees?
Well, I think that it's just a question of what kind of a future do you want in Quebec? Because we've been hearing about nursing shortages and teacher shortages. We started out this school year with 8,500 vacancies throughout education. How are you going to attract new people to these jobs when these are the working conditions that are being offered and how we're being treated by the government? It makes no sense. I think that, a good analogy was I was driving in from the airport last week downtown, and you look at the number of potholes and all of the bridges that are falling apart, the construction cones everywhere. That's what infrastructure looks like in Quebec. And it's not just the road system. It's the healthcare system. It's the education system. And so if people are willing to stand by and have potholes and construction that are incessantly plaguing healthcare and education, then that's what they're embracing. But otherwise, they're going to support their healthcare workers and their education workers to make sure that this is not what our fundamental systems look like.
Christina, that analogy there at the end, I think, is pretty brilliant, and I think it exposes some of those cracks. We'll talk again we'll talk again real soon, and we'll see what happens next week in the next phase. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Christina Chough is chair of the Modern Languages Department at Dawson College.